Welcome to the Mind is Psychic, where we talk music, addiction, comedy, culture. If you like this content, please leave feedback and subscribe. Let's get into it. So, folks, welcome to the Mind is Psychic. I have a special guest that was on episode 3, maybe 2, Mr. Ser Judo. And this is going to be a special episode because we're going to go in depth about a few different things. And that includes rumination. What is it? Shadow work. And we're also going to throw some pity party as a little deal. And what else, Mr. Ser Judo?
Let's see. Just going to talk a little bit about like ego and the soul, stuff like that. Maybe some grief.
Ooh, yeah. Well, I'll get into that. I think grief because, that is especially this week. It was very special when you're talking about grief because last Monday, the 28th, was the 10 years since my mom passed. So that actually, this is all going to come to a full circle episode, I believe.
Yeah, sounds like it.
So you came to me a couple weeks ago, and because you give me a lot of ideas, and I liked you came up with the rumination, and I had no idea about that. Right?
Yeah.
I had no idea, especially being in, mental health and, addiction, all of that. I had no idea. I've never heard of it.
It just dropped on my radar this year, actually. I'd never heard of it before either.
Yeah, it was very...
So I don't know if it's a buzzword thing or if it's always kind of been around. I don't know.
I've not heard... At least I have not heard rumination. A lot of the definition and a lot of the examples, I guess, are in different things, but I don't know. I mean, that's something like that. The rumination part of it was something that was very foreign to me. So would you like to expand on it?
Yeah, I mean, in layman's terms, it's basically rumination is just constantly recycling the same problem over and over in your head with kind of no escape, right? Or no way out, no solution. It's just conflict always, and it's the same conflicts usually. And you're just ruminating on the same ideas over and over. And, we're speaking on like negative things, like problems in your life. I mean, they could be anything. It could be breaking up with a girlfriend. It could be losing a job, the death of a loved one. It could be anything. It's just being stuck in that deep mental state of just constantly thinking about something over and over and over, which is why a lot of people get on medication, right?
Yes.
To escape.
Yes, and to try to forget those memories.
It's a lot of dwelling feelings usually.
And then that dwelling turns into depression, which turns into anxiety, and it just goes on and on and on.
Spirals, yeah.
And very much so. And it can spiral very, very dark. Very dark.
Yeah, I would think so, yeah.
Yeah, it's...
Because if we could all sit and think about positive thoughts constantly and ruminate on that, probably wouldn't have a lot of issues, right? They wouldn't put up a wall for you.
Yeah, true. And Speaking of the medication part, especially like the SSRIs, I
Yeah.
think that depending on which med you're on, I think that may hinder you from growing out of the cycle of thoughts.
Hmm.
I mean, that's my opinion because it's
So,
very weird.
so I don't know if everybody deals with rumination. I don't know if that's like, their thing, I feel like it could be because some people don't sit and constantly think about the same thing over and over. That's very OCD ish, like some people could, you know, feel a certain way and move on and feel another way in another situation and not really nostalgically, you know, have the hamster and the wheel on the same thing.
True.
So it goes person to person, I would say.
Yes. And the not only person to person, but um situation I mean, different situations as well.
Yeah, it's a heavy focus on a negative feeling,
Yeah.
basically.
And
Your attention is very drawn to that certain subject
sometimes you can't get off of it.
obsessively.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, exactly. You're a hamster on a wheel, and it's a magnet wheel, and your little hamster feet have magnets on them, so you're magnetized to that same wheel over and over and over, and
And
your brain is exercising, it's moving, it's just moving in a negative direction, and that direction is stuck,
mhm.
right?
And that I feel can be detrimental. Definitely when it comes
Yeah.
to the part of if you focus on something negative for so long, the regrets, the negativity, that may turn your whole world and where
Mhm.
all your thoughts are negative, no matter what.
Your Yeah, your actions outside of that are gonna kinda reflect that, right?
Yes.
Because your mind is in control of your body and your decision making. So if your mind is stuck, you're probably gonna make uncalculated, like, quick decision making that's gonna lead you in more turmoil? Because you can't think about what's going on outside of your mind because you're stuck in that ruminating thought.
Yes. And that's
Yeah.
very dangerous.
And like, like I've said outside of this podcast, the rumination, it's the more and more you sit and think about your problems, the more your problems grow. It's kind of like I don't know. It's like when you need to cut the grass right outside, and it's a pretty day, it's a perfect day to cut the grass, but you keep putting it off, and it just keeps raining and raining and raining. And what does that do? That creates more grass, right?
Hmm.
So your problems are growing from that. That's the analogy I like to think of.
I like that.
So in your mind, it's kind of raining, under the weather a little bit. But the more you sit and not take care of the grass, the more the grass is going to grow until the point it's covered your entire house and everything around you.
And then
You know,
there's really only a few options, unfortunately, that if you get that deep into that hole, where you go,
hmm
unfortunately.
kind of, yeah. So I think you kind of have to address the problem a little bit,
Yes.
but it's hard to do that if you don't know exactly what you're doing. Like you
True.
don't know exactly what it is. You can identify your issue, which is probably why there's therapy and a lot of other things and outlets. I can't talk.
Outlets. Yes. No,
Yeah, outlets, yeah.
it's one of those. Do we, and we could be focused like, if we do get help, we can't focus on every single like bad thought all at once. It's a process. And
Yeah. So another thing I've read is sometimes like people who do have rumination heavy, sometimes therapy is bad. Um, and I don't want anybody to jump at me, right? Like when I say this, because yeah, I'm kind of paraphrasing what someone said on Rogan. I forgot her name. She's a a guest that he had. I forgot her name. I should have looked this up before. Abigail something, I think. But she was saying basically when you sit in therapy, what are you doing in therapy? You're talking about your problems, right? So once again, you're going from ruminating outside of therapy to being in therapy and just kind of broken recording because the therapist is going to let you talk, right? So you're kind of just reiterating the same problem over and over and over. And the therapist is probably not going to tell you what to do. They might make a statement about what you're doing, but they're not going to give you the answer of how to necessarily fix it because it's your problem, right? Like you kind of have to be honest with yourself and take the step, right? They're not going to give you all the ammo, right?
No, but they're going to try to lead you down the journey, I guess. They're going to definitely use a lot of motivational interviewing, which basically gets them gets the person to believe that they came up with the idea, when in reality it was the other person, the psychologist or whatever, that moved it into that direction. So instead of them saying, well, you did that, you gave me this, they came up with it, which is very, very interesting.
And her name is Abigail Schreier. I probably butchered that, so sorry. But if you want to check out that episode, it's great on Rogan.
Yes, very much.
Just shouting her out. She's the one that talked about it. She's the first person I had heard bring up the word rumination. I didn't know what that was. And the reason I'm so on this is because it's something I do. So it felt very on the note,
Yes, I mean, I think most of us do this.
Have been a broken record to our own depression.
Depression, anxiety.
Yeah, that's another one.
Crazy
grief, like I was saying.
Mm-hmm. Grief. You just focus and focus and focus.
It's just debilitating, right? To have those thoughts constantly on play.
Yes, and it gets to the point where you don't know how to fix it.
No, you really don't. So I think for me, so like I said, I was doing this. I love nostalgia a lot, probably to a fault, but there can be a lot of pain and trauma in nostalgic things. So, we like to tie music even to certain memories or movies or places. So when I sit and think about places or I listen to the same song over and over, it kind of takes me back. And sometimes those times being taken back aren't necessarily positive times. So in a way, I'm ruminating without even realizing it by sitting in my car and listening to a sad song that takes me back to a sad time, whether it be, 2007 or whatever, you know what I mean? Because there's some attachment there.
Very true.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of what I was doing, was ruminating, and by doing things such as I said, listening to sad music all the time. But yeah. And it can just remind you of a person,
A person, you're exactly right. I would have to say probably for me, I think my happy time was in 2006, even though my dad passed that year. I think, and let me, so I don't sound that evil. I'm going to sound evil, but not that evil. Meaning,
you're good.
Meaning, it was a stress relief when he died, because I no longer had to deal, because it was mostly him wanting stuff and needing something and always asking.
Mm-hmm.
So
felt like a burden.
Yes, and it really, after he passed, I didn't have that anymore. And this sounds even more fucked up, but when my mom passed, the stress and the relief on that, unfortunately, was after probably a couple of months. was just, I'm like, okay, I don't have to I just have to deal with me. Even though I never had to
Yeah.
deal with her because she was a grown woman, I always was
Mhm.
super fucking like super dependent on her in a way that, I never wanted her to get hurt or, whatever. And
Codependent a
oh,
little
we were
bit.
totally codependent. And at the time, I didn't
Yeah.
know. Like, I didn't pay attention. But as you get older, you grow, you get sober, you do whatever. It's
Mhm.
one of those things. But it was a relief. And I think more than anything, it was a relief because I knew how much fucking pain she was in, mentally, physically. And it was a relief to me that I didn't have to see that anymore.
She was just not at peace.
No. So
Yeah.
the situation sucked, but I know I didn't have to deal with it at that point. I'm like, I'm fucking done. I just need to worry about
Mhm.
me. So on that note, it was one of those things where I just, you have to learn to live with it, but you also have to learn to grow and move on.
I would say learn to live with it and learn to grow with it.
Yes, because you can't forget it. It's going to be,
Yeah, I don't think you really let go.
no, you don't.
I just think that
You
becomes a part of you, but yeah.
You have to deal with it in a different way.
Yeah, you gotta create a new landscape and carve a new path,
Because your
so to
life,
speak.
because your life is now going to go a different direction no matter what. Because though that
Yeah,
person's
definitely.
not in your life.
Yeah, you have no choice, but because you don't want to stay stuck.
No,
Because
not at
that's
all.
not doing any good for anybody, right? Like,
Exactly.
yeah,
You don't, and it's just like I said, detrimental to your psyche, your physical health, your mental health, everything. It's
yeah,
just, it's not healthy.
that that type of grief can really hold you back,
It can,
in a lot of ways.
it can, and depending on how you deal with it, the people you have around you, how much you're willing to share. And I think that's the key point right there. How much are you willing to share?
I think the best thing we can do as adults and moving forward is, I think, honesty. And I don't mean that in like a morality thing, like you have to be a good, honest person to get further in life and to, you know, I don't think it's that. I think it's just honest with yourself.
Yeah. And
Because
you have to.
if you're transparent, there's so much freedom in being transparent,
Yes. And how I wanted to add how not to sugarcoat your own feelings, meaning don't lie, be real, and accept what happened. Accept what's happening. That's a major play too. Because if you lie to yourself constantly, you're going to then you're going to have these thoughts of it's a lie. It becomes
Yeah, it's like
delusion.
it's like a pestering notion that you are not living a truth, your truth,
Yes.
and that's going to eat at you. Unless you're a sociopath, you're going to have thoughts and feelings before bed at night, and it's kind of like that saying, right? Like, how do you sleep at night? Knowing what you know or what you've done.
Mm-hmm.
I always made a joke. It's like, oh, on the left side, that's cool,
Right.
but
Because
no, yeah, just to be a shit.
Mhm.
But yeah, you kind of, those are the thoughts and stuff that are going to keep you up at night if you're not living your honest truth. And I think when you're younger, it's easier to get away with things and lie and kind of have this like devilish grin after you get away with certain things. But I think weight is so much more when you age. I don't know what that is, or I don't know. I don't fully understand that yet. And I'm not like mad about it because you want to be honest with yourself more. I think you're just more vulnerable as you age because you realize that's the path more so,
yeah,
because you're yeah, it's like you're just not going to garnish a lot of respect self-respect or respect from others unless you're vulnerable, you know?
Yes, you have to open up, but you have to
Yeah.
open up to the honesty. You have to open up to other people's critiques, their feedback, their idea and their opinion of how they see you.
I think when I've had a falling out with a friend before in life, I think when I was younger, it was always like I would reach out to them and say, "Why did you do this to me? Why were you like this? This is your fault." But I think as an adult now and at this age, the first sentence is not that. It's more so like, "Hey, I could have done a lot better on my part. I'm sorry." You know what I mean?
True, or it was him all the time. Maybe he was just that toxic. I mean,
It could be that. It could be that.
but you're giving it the benefit of the doubt because you're putting yourself in there as a player in that game.
Yeah, I'm basically opening up the path of, hey, I'm no hostility on my end. Here's an open path. Let's talk about it. That sorry becomes a door, whether they deserve that to enter that door or not. And that's just me being the bigger person and kind of taking the weight off myself.
And that
you know?
frees, yeah, of course, that frees up your emotional space for other things.
And this isn't a morality thing or to be like condemnable by no means. This isn't charity. I'm not doing this, I'm not doing this for any certain reason. I guess there's a reason. I guess it's to clear my conscience, but at the same time, that feels better than being in this constant state of war with somebody.
Very true. And at the end of the day, it's going to, if you have that much bullshit deep down in your subconscious, you need to get it out.
I don't like negative environments, and I've tried so hard to stay out of that. And I can play a huge role in that myself by creating those spaces, and I've realized that too. So I just taking a huge amount of accountability to be a better influence to those around me and myself.
Yeah. I think that's a wise decision, especially as we get older.
Mm-hmm. But what I will say to that is I do think that there is people who are detrimental to your health and mental health. And sometimes you do have to cut ties. And as you said in your last episode, sometimes there's a season for certain people to come about your life and teach you something. And then they move on. And that's not negative. It's not negative. It's just a passing of the time.
You grow.
Know? Yeah, exactly. And sometimes you outgrow people. Yeah. And I hate to say that, but sometimes it's just wavelengths and energy. And if it's not matched, I don't know, sometimes it can bring you down in a lot of ways.
Yes. And, I got to bring this back to addiction. When you're...
That's fine.
I will always, for some reason, bring this shit back to addiction, poor mental health, whatever. This is what the channel is. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah, that's the byproduct of it. Yeah.
And because it's so deep for me, but that whole process of, even when you think, like for me, for instance, with the subject of that last episode, there was a subject, there was a real person that was a part of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, you maybe want to give them that benefit of the doubt. Maybe at one point they were trying to help you, but maybe they were suffering so much themselves.
Yeah, that's true.
And I know for a fact that was the truth.
Okay.
But it gets to the point where you can't continue blaming other people for your shit, because that puts you on a road to destruction.
Yeah.
And you just gotta, and that's what I did. Like you meant, that's what I did. It took me moving 2,500 miles away to realize that. And it took me even over a close to 6, 7 years to actually, once you get you're done, you get sober, and you think, okay, that relationship was not healthy at all. The shit that you did was stupid. Now, granted, you're in your early 20s. What I'm pretty sure if you don't do stupid shit, you pretty much it's life,
part of growing up.
right?
Yeah. You're gonna make mistakes. Like,
Exactly.
we're not at that age. You got so many mistakes to make, and I think that's, in a way, I think those mistakes, granted, they're not hurting anybody violently, or
Hopefully not.
you haven't murdered somebody at that point. I would hope not, but the mistakes are worthy because there's growth to be learned from them, and I don't think you should. I think it's easy for everybody to get down on their mistakes and realize their wrongdoings, but I think at the end of the day, man, you kind of got to spin it in a way of positivity to grow from it, because if you don't look at it in a positive way to a degree, you're just gonna ruminate in it, right?
True.
You're gonna just think, yeah, you're gonna view yourself as a bad person if you view all your mistakes as bad behavior.
Yes.
Sometimes it's okay to say I was ignorant and I fucked up.
I think you need to say that daily. Now,
or maybe you're not. Maybe you did know better. Maybe you weren't ignorant, but it's not the same choice you would make now.
No, and I'm going to elaborate.
And that speaks levels of growth.
Yes, because once you figure it out yourself, that, okay, this action, this situation could have been handled better.
You know the outcome now.
You do. And you wouldn't be in the place you are now if you didn't. If you didn't fuck around, you wouldn't be in the place you were now. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's
correct.
just going back to the whole hamster wheel of the rumination.
Mm-hmm.
It's regrettable in a way, it is, but it's sobering too. Especially if it's monetary, then that's what you were negatively impacted by, and you keep on thinking and thinking and thinking on it. It's not if it's monetary, you can make that up. But
yeah, it's kind of crazy how there's a lot of addiction related analogies you can use, but sometimes decision making can have a hangover.
Oh,
you know what I mean? And you feel bad,
many years of a hangovers.
Exactly. Yeah.
Subconsciously, consciously. I mean, I think that even grows into PTSD. I mean, you can keep on rolling down the DSM-5 different F codes with that shit. It just keeps on fucking snowballing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not easy to fix.
It's kind of goes with the notion, turning grief into gratitude, right?
Very much so.
Instead of feeling the grief from the weight of your decision making, kind of be grateful that you came out the other end in a positive way.
Yes, I agree. And we all have grief, whether you think you do, whether you think you don't. We've all at some point, whether it was trauma as a kid, and I think that's where it stems from mostly. There's that little time when you're a kid that I think it starts piling on, and either you express it through anger, you express it through however you express it, but over decades and decades and decades, that's grief. And then you have an explosion of grief. What do? I mean, most people will lash out. And
yeah, usually it's negative.
Yes, they're trying to get that attention. Whether they know it or not, whether it's negative or positive attention, they need some type of attention.
They need evidence to support their bad behavior for their ego. essentially.
Very much so.
So if they're going to they think they're a bad person by what they've done or what trauma that they've faced. So their ego within them is trying to prove that by doing more bad behavior. So the evidence is supported by their peers. So they're going to lash out, but they're lashing out to prove a point to themselves that they are a bad person, when realistically they're probably not. Their trauma is just overweighing their psyche so much that it's kind of takes who they are naturally out.
Yeah, it becomes debilitating in that it basically takes over the personality of the one person you turn into a different person.
You've been around people before in life where most days they're an upbeat, fun person to be around, very outgoing. And then you can tell when they're going through something. They get dark a lot,
Yep.
You've probably seen this within yourself. Yeah.
Hey, let's go record. No, we're going to go.
Sorry.
No, I'm taking you home. Yep. Oh, yeah. It's that bipolar.
Yeah.
What does Kanye say? Bipolar is my fucking superpower.
Exactly.
Which, I wish I could say that, but it's not me dealing with it and living with it and figuring out the parts. Once you grow emotionally with yourself, and you can almost, and I have with assistance, my behavior, my emotions are pretty flat now. They don't go up, they don't go down. I have the ability to process things, not necessarily talking. Like, I may still blurt out stuff that's just, why the fuck did I say that? But mentally, I can, if someone's talking, instead of just blurting something out, like maybe I disagree with it and I want to have my 2 cents, I will refrain. Whereas before, I would just straight up say it, which
you have some reserve now.
Very much so. Whether it's me growing, me finally getting my shit together, whatever the case may be.
Well, I think emotional intelligence is an underrated thing, and I don't think people bring it up enough.
No.
And I think the more you raise your emotional intelligence, the more beautiful life becomes and the more happier you become, because you don't lash out to everything that comes your way. You have more reserve to actually sit and think about the decisions,
Yeah. I mean, and that's important. I mean, think about it. And what is emotional intelligence? It's the ability to recognize, understand, and imagine emotions in oneself or others. Yeppy doodle. Yeppy doodle. And to be able to do that, I think, I'm not saying it's a gift, but it's definitely a skill, and a very important one at that.
I think I like to consider the mind like a muscle, right? So you're going to be weak-minded to things unless you continue the work and the training to grow that muscle, right? And this is just like an analogy. I don't think your brain can physically grow like a cartoon. In the cartoons, how when they'd read books, their head would get bigger. But
that'd be dope, though. Gain more knowledge. But go ahead.
Be a little top heavy, wouldn't you? But yeah, no. Yeah, I like to look at it like a muscle, right? So like knowledge is the gym, right? So keep growing that muscle, and it's just always better to have a debate or a conversation with somebody who's more emotionally intelligent, because they're not talking to you to prove they're right and their opinion is the chosen one. They're talking to you to actually analyze the conversation and weigh what you say and what they say. It's inviting. It's not diffusing. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a fleeting conversation. And I hear a lot of people that I, deem that I can idolize. They always say, I'm not going to talk to you if you're not talking to me. So basically what that means is, like, I'm not going to have a conversation with you if you're talking over me, or if you're not even appreciating my opinion or respecting it. Yeah, it's like there was a rapper, I forgot who said this. It's a quote. It's like, talk to me nice or don't talk to me at all. I thought that was cheeky.
That makes.
But,
Go ahead.
But what I mean by that is, like, especially like growing up in in Eastern Kentucky, is like a lot of religious people, school teachers even, they talk over you, and their opinion is right before you even engage conversation. You know what I mean?
Yes, and that can be how, thinking of a word, that could be really, I'm using the key word today, folks, is detrimental.
Yeah.
So I believe that's, dude, that especially when you're so close-minded, and you can't blame them necessarily because they grew up with that,
They were raised that way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now it's a little bit different because of the access we have to a lot of different things. So
Yeah.
even if you are a boomer, you're not going to go out and say derogatory names to certain people, to certain groups. I wouldn't think, because,
I mean,
well, now common sense is not all common sense.
it's not common.
It's not
as
common,
they say.
as they say. You could be a bright mathematician in the books, but not have any idea what's going on in the world. It's
What's what sucks to me, and you kind of hit on this a little bit in your last episode. I hate to keep referring
on.
back
Apparently,
to it.
this is a good episode. So
it was a beautiful episode. So just like how people's behavior and their negativity can be so infectious that it can ruin your whole day or ruin weeks sometimes. Just they can just infect you. You know what I mean? Just how they are. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
disheartening a lot, because you could wake up in the best mood ever, ready to tackle the day, and then someone can just hit you the wrong way in a conversation, and it can take you out for hours or even for the whole day. And that's crazy that another human being can actually do that. They have that power over you, and you let it happen.
And there's a couple of different mind frames to that. Well, you're letting them do that to you. You don't have to let anybody's emotions, feelings affect you in that way. Well, as
and
human beings,
I know not everybody is so infected by other people's behavior. I know not everybody has that flaw, but a lot of people do, even if they don't want to admit it, right?
I would say, yeah, because I think most people care, and they have a heart, and in a way, it's like, what the fuck did I do?
We seek so much validation from other humans, because we were put on Earth around other humans. We weren't divided out separately, right? Like, we sought each other out in tribes and built a lot of things with groups, right? And look at group therapy, AA, all that. It's all group stuff. You know what I mean? You're uplifting together, because you can't do a lot of work on your own. So I think that's why we validate people so much, right?
True, very true. But I also think, as much as a group is important, it's because it's been going on for eons and eons, like you just mentioned.
Yeah.
I also think that, this may be getting off the subject a little, but I also think that you need your alone time, and you need to find peace in that. And
for sure,
if you can't find peace by yourself, within yourself,
then you're going to self-destruct. Yeah.
And you're not going to be able to exhibit the
A strong mind in
constructive,
tough situations. Yeah.
even in the outwardness of yourself in the public and in a group setting.
I think that's super important. I think that taking time for yourself to be alone is a superpower. And I've done this in my life where I've cut all social media for months, 6 months to be exact. And I kind of limited friend time. And I kind of sat with myself for a long time to kind of grow that, right? Because I was so codependent on many things. I still am to a certain degree, but that alone time is crazy. You know, really makes you think.
And and let's be clear, I'm not talking about social isolation for weeks on end.
Yeah,
I'm a pro.
not in a destructive
No,
manner.
I'm a pro at that because you're so scared of being in the public that you don't want you think you're so paranoid. You think that everybody's out to get you and everybody's talking about you. That's not what I'm talking about.
Anxiety.
Anxiety, and that brings on the anxiety. Then that brings
Social
on
anxiety.
Exactly. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just, take the weekend.
Yeah, and you're talking about in small doses.
Yes, because as a professional isolator, I should have a platinum gold medal. No, a platinum medal
on lonerism.
On isolation.
We won't even say that. Don't even say it to that degree. Let's just say solitude.
No. This was.
Or are you talking about a time when you did do that?
Oh, no, I'm talking about a time that I did do that. And I'm trying to state that you can come out of it.
Yeah, definitely.
It's all regulation. But sometimes you need that kick in the ass. Because maybe sometimes you don't know what's going on, but externally other people do. Right?
Yeah.
And
I think so, yeah.
That's very, very important. And honestly, especially if you're in the service industry, and what I mean is in the service industry, I mean, if you're in an industry where you talk to people, which pretty much all day long, whether it's about mental, whether it be you're in a public sector job, talking to people, counseling people, case managing people, or you're in sales, you're constantly talking to people. And
sometimes with putting a face on too.
Exactly. And most, if not 70, 80%, even 90% of the people know that you're bullshitting, know that you're hiding, knowing that you might have that smile and that grin on your face, but you're crying inside.
Exactly, yeah. And I think most people can read that. If they could read the room and read you,
yes.
If especially more so if they know you.
Yeah. And lately, to be perfectly honest, I may not say anything out with speech, but I roll my eyes when I'm and that's
just don't let someone catch you doing that.
Yeah, well, hopefully I have my sunglasses on so they really can't see.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's
I always found it very because you know me, I'm pretty flat as a human. Like I pretty much have one emotion for most of the day. But I always found it very weird when I would meet someone in person and they're super inviting and laughing and smiling and very upbeat. And then the minute I walk away, they go straight to a frown and a deep, dark demeanor. And I'm just like, wow, did they just put a face on to meet me? Like, no shade, but
that's energy.
A little strange, right?
That's energy.
Yeah. It's almost like I caught the whiplash from their emotion change. And I'm like, whoa, okay, wait a minute. Did they like me? That's my first question. Like, did I do something wrong? Like, and that's probably a me problem, that's probably projection.
That is very much projection because we shouldn't give a crap, but we do.
No, yeah, right. We do.
We all want to be liked by everybody. And in fact, we're not. Some people, I know I rub people the wrong way, and
It's going to
it's going to
happen, yeah, and
happen.
you can't get caught up.
No,
You can't get caught up in the noise of it. I don't think because it's a given, right? Like you're not going to like every person that you run into, right?
no. And I'm speaking of myself. I'm a big dude. I have a big voice. I'm not the quietest. And I'm at the point in my life where I'm not going to sugarcoat shit. And
Right. I think that
I
comes
keep on saying that because I want it to be out there that you can't fix yourself with lies, with lying. 100% you can't.
I think to a degree too, life just makes you jaded to the point that you are more authentic in a way. And I hate to say that. I hate to say jaded because jaded usually has a negative connotation, but it kind of makes you a little thick skinned to where you know that you can be honest and be sure in your honesty and know that like, hey, if I'm honest right now and I say something I mean and they get mad, well, to some degree that's on them a little bit, right?
No, it's on them fully. They
Okay.
need to take they need to understand that the reason why this conversation is, let's say for instance they did something, talking to them like they didn't do anything or it wasn't their fault, I think is a disservice.
Oh, you're just enabling.
You're an enabler. And
Yeah, I get
as
that.
good as that feels, trust me, it's good to feel that.
Yeah, it feels great. Yeah.
Yes, you can't always, certain people, they'll find that as a weakness in yourself, and they're not going to want to work with you. Now, what I mean too is you can also still be polite. Like I'm not saying
And
that. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say constructive.
Yeah, very much so. Do it in a uplifting tone. Do it in a way like
I I would go to say like even outside of work, even in friendships and relationships with people, this is something I need to work on as well. Exactly what you're saying is how to say something in a constructive way, not a demeaning way.
mm-hmm.
That's something I've had to work on myself
And
because I do have a sharp tongue, and I've realized this in life.
a sharp tongue, yes. I want it now, and you better do it right now, yes.
Impulsivities are high.
Yes, yeah, exactly, yes. And
Faults, right? I mean,
we
we
all
all got
have them.
flaws.
We all have them. And but see, you realize that you have them, right?
Yeah, for sure,
And
for sure. It's
that's
it's.
important.
I'm not. Yeah, there's no. There's no like. There's no false personality thinking I'm some crusader. It's very much here's my issues. I guess I could apologize ahead of time for them, but here they are. You know, they're laid out. Um, it's not in a way to scare people or make people run. It's just like, yeah, I have problems too. We all do, you
Yeah.
know.
And
I'm sorry for my problem, right?
yes, and then it comes to the fact of how self-deprecating are you? How much are you going to give out?
I usually self-deprecate when I do something, but the way I've learned is to kind of remedy that is admitting you're wrong. I think that's a big one. I think letting the ego go a little bit to say, "Hey, the other day I fucked up. I'm sorry." Like, I admitting,
Yeah, and then you also have the side where you apologize too much.
you can be overly apologetic, um, but I don't know. That's like a double-edged sword,
Mm-hmm.
right? Kinda. It is because you don't want to be that person that's always saying, "Oops, fucked up. Oops, fucked up. Oops, fucked up." Because eventually the people are going to be like, "Well, if you know you fucked up, why do you
Keep
keep
doing it.
repeating these?"
Exactly.
Yeah,
If you keep on
but
messing up time and time again
it,
with the
it
same issue, you're incompetent.
yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah. Is at that point, is it a trait of you or is it a mistake? You know,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
and then that's when you kind of got to do a little bit of the character work on yourself to not make said mistakes over and over.
And if you need to have 20 alarms to get your ass up and does it for so you wake up, do it. If you need an alarm clock that is 10 feet away, that's not on extremely loud, but to wake your neighbors up at 6:30 in the morning. I mean, definitely do that. And have an additional 5 on your phone. That's 2 feet away from you. And don't have a thing in your brain that, fuck.
Snooze is the devil, my friend.
You fuck up and
snoozing is the devil.
It ain't personal. It ain't personal, even though it sounds like a shitty excuse, but sometimes it happens. Twice in a year, but sometimes it happens. It's accident. Sometimes it's just accidental. And as a straight up adult, I will say
he's an asshole.
Oh no, I admit that
to yourself though. No.
I'll admit it to the world that we're talking about me, of course. And whether you believe it or not, that's on you. I'm telling the truth, whatever. So, but I've never not.
Scout's honor.
I've always taken responsibility.
Yeah.
Bottom line. So I'm just saying there are a lot of different scenarios that you can put in with yourself. A lot of different examples. But if you're one of those that don't wake up after the fourth or fifth snooze, I would definitely recommend the alarm clock that's like 10 feet away. And you can also get there's actually a vibrating thing that comes with a lot of clocks.
Vibrating thing.
It's a buzzer. It's like a disc that has a wire that you can set it. That it actually, if you put it under yourself, when the alarm clock goes on, it'll like pulse.
My friend always says that, because I'm the snooze god as well, right? I'm always taking a nap. He always says that he needs to get an alarm clock that shocks me to get me up,
Yes, and I wish I had the enough funds and I was just talking I was having this conversation with somebody this morning about if I had enough money, I would hire a life coach and they would have basically, I didn't go into depth, but what I want is, I'm not necessarily saying a cattle prod to wake me up and get my ass up.
Oh, wow.
Something to not injure me. But let's go to maybe, how when you shake people's hand and there used to be that buzzer on their hand, you know what I mean?
Oh, I hated that. Yeah.
Right?
The shock
something
thing.
Like that, like to put on my foot or something.
That's like that creepy uncle that's like, hey, shake my hand.
Exactly. And hopefully that uncle isn't a chomo. Just saying. But anyway, but yeah, that's what I mean. I wish I had it within myself. And I've been doing good lately. I'll honestly be truthful that surprisingly, I haven't had to use the 10-foot away alarm clock. I have it on, but I haven't had to use it. So it's a motivation totally. So I really want to give thanks and congratulations and attaboy to the dude that told me about this, because I never would have thought about it personally. I would have never thought about it.
It's kind of one of those things that it's easy on your phone because your phone is on your nightstand. You can easily grab it. You can push a button, lay it down. With the alarm clock that's away, you physically have to get out of the bed. And at that point, you're out of bed. Your blood's flowing. You're getting some steps in already. It's not unlikely, but it's less likely that you're going to jump back in the bed, get comfortable, and go back to sleep because you're already up,
Yes. And that is, and it's only that 20 seconds, even that 5 seconds of get it
Well,
done.
you usually, as a man, usually you have to pee first thing in the morning. So if you're up and out of bed, usually a pee strikes. So you have to go pee too. So you're doing multiple things probably that's going to disallow you to get back into bed.
True.
Possibly. I don't know.
No,
Everybody's
no, and I
different.
think that, no, and true. And it also comes to, and for me,
It's the little,
it's the,
very little thing
yeah,
to
yeah,
change,
it is. It
right?
is. And you
Such
get,
a little thing.
and once you, and like for me, I'm a creature of habit. I have routines.
Yeah.
And when I'm not in that routine, it really messes me up.
Makes you think that a lot of the technology has kind of diminished us a little bit and made us lazier, right?
Yeah, 100%. And remember when we were kids, mom
No,
would kick us. Well, at least my
yeah.
mom, she
I'm,
wouldn't, she's never,
my mother
go ahead.
was my alarm. My mother was my alarm clock,
Yep.
beating on the door. I had she gave me 2 times. The first time was kind of like a, hey, you need to get up. The second time was like pulling the covers off me.
And the third time,
The third time was bad. If it got to that point, it was bad.
the only one time, so I was like 10, the only time I called my mom a bitch, and I was 10 years old.
Oh, how dare you?
No, seriously. And she was busting her ass because my father at the time decided that he was just going to snort meth and not work and just be a beer drinker and cable tester to see what's on TV. And guys, what that means is he was unemployed. And he was using my mom's money that she was busting her ass trying to pay the mortgage and all the rent. I'm sorry, to pay the mortgage because they actually owned the home at this time, to pay all the shit. And he's out there buying speed, his thing was Budweiser during that time. The 90s was Budweiser for him. And one time I think I was just angry because I didn't see her for a while. And I didn't understand at the time that it wasn't that she wanted to be away. She just knew there would be, if she didn't do this, we'd be on the fucking streets. And I called her a bitch. And she spanked me. I was 10. Maybe 9, maybe 10. Yeah, probably around 10. And we both laughed. That's the only time she ever, we both laughed because she was like, dude, you're way too old to be fucking doing, honestly.
Yeah, what are we doing?
What are we doing?
Here,
and then I got it. I totally understood at that point, okay. Now, that wouldn't be the last time I'd ever call her a bitch. But,
right.
I mean, did I ever mean it? Maybe in that 4 seconds that I said it, and it was because it was a momentary misjudgment, but it was
out of anger,
exactly, or frustration, or why does Timmy down the block? Why does his dad drive a Mustang or drive a fucking F-350 and have Sea-Doos in his garage when we have a fucking piece of shit car? And you're working your ass off. What's going on? Why aren't you doing what you need to do? I mean, look, think about that as you grow older and you say that shit. Not only would that make your parent just eat up inside.
Yeah, it's going to hit their ego very hard.
And then it's going to hit your ego that you said it years later.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I'm just saying, y'all, just do you. Don't, when you're 14, don't call your mom a bitch. Don't shoot your dad with the BB gun when you're 6. I mean, just life lessons, Joe. Just life lessons.
Savage over here. You're a bad kid. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean,
hey, we learn and grow. That's just part of it. Especially as a kid, you can't really harbor on things you did as a child. You got to think you want to talk about emotional intelligence.
You didn't have it when you were that age.
Yeah, you were just living off freaking
Bro, I was
creek water and rocks. I can't talk.
yeah, and I was living off of that Barney and that fucking Rugrats, bro. Like,
Yeah,
you
we
know,
know that
and
wasn't
Doug and
making
Doug.
you
I
any
mean, you can't.
more. Doug was great.
Doug was
Yeah,
fucking phenomenal, and he had
but yeah,
he had a lot of emotional
anxiety.
intelligence. Well, no, that was Skeeter who had the anxiety. Well, no, they both had anxiety. Don't give
No,
me.
Doug
No,
definitely
he did.
was walking
He
anxiety.
was walking anxiety, and
Skeeter was ADHD.
there we go. Okay, and but maybe that's where my social anxiety came from.
Maybe all those characters were to portray a mental illness.
I think so.
Wouldn't that be some shit?
Oh, you know what? Now that you think about it, yes. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. You have the bully.
Yeah.
You have the ADHD. You have the crush.
Who was ADHD.
You have the anxiety. And then if you want to go on actually like TV shows, you have like Saved by the Bell, which, I mean, you have all the girls are hot. All the dudes are attractive. And so that kind of like, they really didn't have ugly people on that show, on Saved by the Bell.
No, not at all.
So it was kind of like detrimental. Oh, I said that for like a 80th time. Keyword. Now, if you're listening to this, I'm going to put in the chat. No, I'm going to put in the comment section. I want to know how many times I said detrimental in this episode. Just saying. I will give you a high five if you.
I was going to say Venmo some money out, but the high five works.
The high five. This is not Joe Rogan. I don't have that kind of money to. I'm not Mr. Beast, who apparently has has a gambling app that you never lose. Now, this was probably like 6 months ago. Don't even know if this is still the case, if this thing's even still around. Anyways, what I'm saying is I don't have the means to be given any monetary gifts, contributions out. I'll give you a high five, maybe even a
financial throwaways,
maybe even a fist bump, or with my strong hand, I'll give you the little homeless Earl strong hand pride type deal. But yeah, monetarily, no. This stuff costs money, believe it or not. Talking into a mic costs money. And the ROI on this investment in monetary terms is negative a lot of percent. But what it does to my emotion, Smokey, is priceless, baby. It's priceless. I get to talk to a homie. I get to talk to people. And I just get to say whatever I wanted to this thing. It looks like a freaking, if you could see, you can't see this. Eventually, I've got a surprise for y'all. And you're eventually going to see my face, which you may want to, have.
It's beautiful. What are you talking about?
You may want to have some glasses with, the stunner shades where you don't see anything, because
like Mona Lisa herself.
Mona Lisa ain't smiling. Fucking Butterbean over here is just. Anyway, there's going to be a surprise in the upcoming future. I'm just trying to get everything going. And we hit that mark. I can only hear my voice for so long, along with you fine people. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Mr. Ser Judo, for coming on and sharing your intelligence and your vulnerabilities. This dude does a lot of self-help in his head, and he's a very, very good individual friend which I didn't know for a bit, that you could do like a voice like a voice memo and do it in text for a long period of time. I thought it was like a 30-second tweet type deal, but no, I'm getting like 10 minutes of these, these fair, like I cried on one of these because it meant so much to me. It was great. It was generous. So I wanted to thank you for that. Again, he also is my co-host on the No Mentor podcast, which we have an episode a week that comes out on Thursdays. Tuesdays, I have a new schedule. So instead of the Fridays that the Mind of Psychic podcast comes out, I'm changing it to Tuesdays. There may be some surprises. I'm working on stuff, just saying, behind the scenes, anyhow. Thank you for listening. Psychic out.
Thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe and leave a comment. You can hear me on all major platforms and socials under the Mind of Psychic podcast. See you next time.